What really happened to Suzutani Mayumi? It's a question I hear a lot, and as with many of the dangling plot lines in this game, you'll have to play it numerous times to get all the pieces that you then have to fit together yourself. So this week, let's take a look at who Suzutani Mayumi is, and what exactly happened to her. It's early in the game when you can find a missing persons poster on a notice board in town. It's old and torn, indicating that it has been there for quite some time. Name: Suzutani Mayumi. Last seen wearing: white blouse, long navy skirt, beige neckerchief with black polka dots. Details of disappearance: the rest has been torn off. When you first enter the Dark Shrine, you can also find a message carved on a rock. Mum, Dad, I don't think I'll make it home. I just wish I could see you one last time. Mayumi. It doesn't take a genius to put two and two together and realize that Mayumi somehow ended up here in the Dark Shrine as well. And if you have a good memory, then this painting in a later part of the shrine may seem oddly familiar when you first see it too. After all, this woman is wearing a white blouse, long navy skirt, and a beige neckerchief with black polka dots. How very specific. But this painting isn't the only one in the room, as there are two others with even older clothes, and the one next to her looks suspiciously like Hinako. What are we supposed to assume from all of this? Well, at first glance, it certainly seems like Mayumi was spirited away by the foxes, doesn't it? And once you complete the game a few more times, it's revealed that, yes, that's exactly what happened. But why? Well, thankfully, Mayumi leaves behind a ton of notes for Hinako to uncover, as what happened to Mayumi is exactly what's happening to Hinako right now. And Mayumi wants to help her adjust to her new life. For you see, both women are special, and both are necessary to keep the Inari in power and stop the pesky water dragon from spewing toxic gases all over Ebisugaoka again. Wait, what? Let's break it all down. So that I'm not repeating myself with content you can find in other videos, very quickly, Ebisugaoka is, at present, controlled by the Inari, or Fox Clan. These divine spirits took control of the town long ago, when the sacred tree burnt down, and the divine spirit inhabiting that tree was left without a home. But before either of those, the folks who used to live here worshipped the water dragon, said to be one of the heads of the Yamata no Orochi. All you need to know is that it's one cranky head, and it likes to spew toxic gases every now and then to kill whoever might be nearby. But the spirit inhabiting the sacred tree, and later the Inari, have long used their powers to keep the water dragon subdued and less, well, toxic. But the problem is that the water dragon really is quite powerful, and in recent years, the Inari have been struggling to keep it calm. They used to offer it sacrifices, but they found that was no longer working, so they had to figure out another way. What they decided to do was twofold. First, they sealed the water dragon under a great stone, and atop that, they built a shrine they would call their home. Then, instead of sending sacrifices to it every 8 years, they instead located and married mortal women with a rare special blood type, and by having children with them, worked to strengthen the power of their clan. This wasn't a case of weakening their divine blood by mixing it with mortals, but rather the entire opposite. This is true in many countries around the world, but the kami-sama here are only as powerful as the faith people put into them. If less people believe in them, they lose their power. And with Japan rapidly modernizing and people becoming somewhat less religious, the Fox Clan was becoming less powerful. And it's Mayumi herself who informs us of why the Fox Clan decides to start marrying these women with rare blood. It is a core tenet of Shintoism that each land throughout all Japan is protected by its own deities. From this, people pray to the gods so that they and their lands might be blessed. In turn, their belief strengthens the gods and gives them the ability to better protect the land in a beneficial cycle of reciprocation. Thus, the bond between humans and gods is vital to the prosperity of both. If the underlying strength of this bond can indeed be explained through mortal blood, then the reason for the gods joining themselves in sacred matrimony to mortals who call their land home becomes evident. Perhaps it is through the addition of their blood that the bond between mortal and god is strengthened. Basically, modern times call for modern measures. Both Mayumi and Hinako possess a non-ABO blood type. Mayumi herself calls it a rare mutation, while her father-in-law told her that her blood was blessed by the stars. But women who possess this rare blood type contain the power to deepen the bond between mortals and gods. The rare, powerful blood of these local women, once mixed with the Inari ruling this area, strengthens that bond between human and god. And as long as the Inari remain strong, the water dragon can be subdued. Setting aside whether you think the Inari are good, bad, or something in between, the fact remains that they are, by the time of the game, keeping Ebisugaoka safe. And so, this is why Mayumi was taken. We don't know exactly who her husband is, just that he's a member of the Tsuneki clan. And we know that Mayumi, after being taken, was initially scared and confused, much like Hinako was. But in time, seemed to very much warm up to her new role in life. In an unfinished letter, presumably for Hinako, Mayumi remarks on how everywhere she turns, she is met with splendor. She and Hinako call the same village home, but she is certain this new home will soon become a place of respite and tranquility for her too, and if she ever needs someone to lend an ear, Mayumi will be there for her. Now, it should be noted that we're giving numerous hints that Mayumi didn't go down without a fight. You can initially find scraps of paper where she apologizes to her parents for being a horrible daughter, and I guess I'm getting what I deserve. She notes how terrifying this place is, and how this must be hell. But then, suddenly, with her third note, her entire tone changes. What a beautiful place this is. This must be paradise. Other notes around the shrine also remark, there are valuable relics hidden away in the old storage room. They must be kept under lock and key. The last girl slipped in while I wasn't looking. It took a long time to find her. Being that the last girl we know of is Mayumi, it's not a stretch to think this was her, and it shows her continuing to fight against her capture. Then we also have the messy scroll note, the implications of which are far more horrifying. Wonder what that pretty little thing's chirps will sound like when I tear off that mask of hers. The girl before last was an exquisite specimen. I can barely contain myself every time I think about her. I'll leave you to imagine exactly what that means, but obviously the Inari, or at least Kyubi, aren't exactly working with these women's best interests at heart. But then we have Mayumi changing her tone, suddenly talking about being in paradise. And in the scroll of welcome, she tells Hinako, "Do not fear. I was once you. Be reborn at your own leisure. There is no need for fear here. Celebrate, once and for all. May you live happily ever after. May we all thrive for eternity. What happened for Mayumi to have this drastic change of heart? As we know, the Fox clan would do whatever it took to take the women they wanted. We're also told that Fox Mask, even though he himself may not realize it, has cast a love spell on Hinako through his letters to her using sandalwood. This is something that numerous Tsuneki clan members before him have done. You don't have to stretch your imagination very far to think that the same was done to Mayumi. It's possible that she came around on her own, yes, but from the information the game gives us, it's also highly likely she was, well, put under a spell. So, what is Mayumi doing now? According to Ryu Kishi himself on a live stream he did, she is, in his mind, still alive and well, and helping Hinako in the background as she proceeds through the Dark Shrine. I've also seen it suggested that because you get her scroll of welcome from a kitsune statue that is flanked by two much smaller statues, that she now has two children of her own. Who knows? But either way, she is alive, presumably happy, and watching over Hinako as she undergoes her own trials, giving her the help that she presumably never got. What a queen. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other topics from the game you'd like to see me cover? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.